Hello and welcome to episode 26 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast, with me, Will Brown. Just to start things off, just want to pass on our deepest sympathies. Obviously, the passing of Mike Pusey over the weekend. As you'll see, there was a tribute before the game at the weekend. I don't have any specific memories of Mike, but if you look at I'll put the link in the show notes, but please go and read the post on the Shots website, which charts his incredible kind of time with Aldershot FC and then Aldershot Town FC. It's a brilliant read, and really does put it into context what it means to be club chaplain and the man that Mike was. So go and do that, and from all of us here, deepest sympathies to go out to his family. And in terms of the episode, we've got Guy and Julian discussing obviously the Forest Green 3-3 and looking ahead to the Halifax and Braintree game. Not much else in the episode, to be fair. It was quite a short one, so enjoy that. If you got any questions, the things you want us to mention, the things you want to know about us, then email atfcpodcast@gmail.com and we will read it out in the next episode. Enjoy the episode and speak to you after. Well, the first pod of the year last week, we all predicted 1s and 2-0s across the board for Aldershot's first game of the season at home to Forest Green Rovers, and that was blown away within the first 10 minutes with Hady Ghandour's double. The eventual result 3-3. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about on the pod tonight. We've got Guy joining us from Belgium, and Julian. No, where's Guy joining us from now?
France.
He's crossed the border. Okay. And we've got Julian across another border down in Wales. And I'll come to you first, Julian. You had a little chat with Terry Owens at the weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Will. So my trip from Wales for match day always starts about just after 9 o'clock, when I leave these shores and head over the bridge, and really look forward to each time I travel up. And of course, first game of the season, I had those words from a Guy in my mind, actually. When it's that first game of the season, it's the hope that often kills you, isn't it? And you're expecting so much, and just really excited as I was driving towards the ground, and got there in good time. Really great to see the crowds outside as well. It's you're never quite sure when you turn up whether there's going to be a queue, and it was really nice to see. It's a lovely sunny day, guys and girls with their summer wear on. It was just a really good atmosphere outside the ground. Got inside with plenty of time, and was actually able to catch up with Terry Owens to just sort of hear some thoughts from Terry. Terry, if for those of you that don't know Terry, he is the former chairman and co-founder of the new club, and his current role is as ambassador. So he does quite a lot of work behind the scenes, promoting the Shots, and he was more than willing to spend a few moments. So caught up with Terry Owens, and this is what he had to say. Hi, I'm with Terry Owens this afternoon, and Terry, it'd be really good to understand how you think pre-season's gone and what you think is going to happen today.
Well, pre-season's gone very well, but at the end of the day, the pre-season don't mean an awful lot.
That's true.
Because nobody gives really 100%. Because both managers will say before the game starts, don't do anything silly, lads. Don't get stuck in. Give yourself time on the ball and win the game.
How do you think today's going to end up?
I think today's a difficult game. It's great to have a home game. Sometimes the home games are the hardest. We're going to meet a very well-organised team today, a very well-organised football club as well, both on the pitch and off the pitch. And I think today could end up in a draw. That's my heart saying that, but we could nick a win. It would be close.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we could get we could win by the odd goal, perhaps.
We could win by the odd goal. I've had a bet again this season. I have a bet with the bookies every year on Aldershot reaching the playoffs. So I've had another bet, and that's my dream: reach the playoffs and win the playoffs.
And looking forward to the rest of the season. Obviously, not a ball's been kicked yet, but what are you hoping for?
Well, I'm hoping to see some more entertaining games. Last season was going to be a hard act to follow. We had two very good players last year who've obviously been transferred to a high level, and both deserve that. We've got new recruits in, we've got a young team, and you have to get the right mixture of young and experienced players. So only time will tell on that, and I only look at really how the season's going round about Christmas time, i.e. in the new year. That's my first really truthful thoughts on how we're doing this season. People say to me, what do I think of the manager? Well, I have to say every time that at the moment the manager looks a good manager, but we've won nothing yet. And that's what a manager is judged on. Tommy will believe that as well. I've got a good relationship with him, and he and I know that this team and him has won nothing yet at Aldershot Town Football Club. But we believe and we will win something.
Brilliant. Terry, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
No problem at all. Just turn that off. So as you heard from Terry there, really interesting to hear some of his thoughts. And what I thought was really interesting as well was, he was optimistic, but him and he was saying similar opinions to the staff as well, in that we've won nothing, and that for me was quite interesting. That shows that there is a steely determination behind the scenes to keep moving this club forwards, which I was really encouraged about. So I thought that was really interesting to hear Terry's thoughts on that, and he actually got the prediction right, as you heard there. So he obviously knows much more than we do, Will.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for that, Julian. So I guess let's kick off and start off with the game. I'm going to come to you, Guy. I think you mentioned the defence and discipline in in the pod last week. We had 3 yellows in the first 21 minutes, and 3 goals conceded to talk about. How did you see it from your position?
I mean, I'm watching it and then also listening to the post-match interviews with both Tommy Widdrington and also the Forest Green Rovers manager, Steve Cottrell. It's quite striking how much consensus there is, which was that, both sides were like, 2-0 up, great, I would take it. 3-2 down, not looking so good, or, vice versa in Forest Gate's case. And so, everyone seems kind of generally of the opinion that it ended up probably being a fair result. But interestingly enough, for both sides, both Aldershot and Forest Green, there was criticism about the defence. You've just mentioned it, Will, that with Aldershot, we went 2-0 up and somehow we get pegged back, and then we're back, sort of suddenly chasing the game again. But Forest Green Rovers also, same thing with them. They were saying that, they were all over the place, sort of during the first half. They tidied it up a lot more in the second half. But then, of course, you listen to Widdrington, and he also says, look, we were good at the start, good at the end. In the middle, we just sort of, managed to hold it. But it does seem that it's very much a continuation of last season. I mean, we're sort of lots of goals at both ends, defensive frailties, goals coming in from a bunch of different players. Really great to see, both, Hady Ghandour and also the new signing, James Henry, appearing on the score sheet, and listening to, and it looks like he's not going to be Mr. Super Sub either. There was some talk about from Widdrington after the game that he wants him to be playing more regularly, and that's interesting because we talked last week on the podcast as to what was the angle here, because it is a young squad, but James Henry coming in at sort of in his mid-30s is bringing a bit of experience, a bit of maturity to the game. But there is also this sort of general sense, I think, reading around some of the other sort of commentators and analysis about Aldershot, that this is a much more balanced side than last year. But but there also is the continuity, isn't there? And I think you called it Widball or something, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, Widball. We'll see how it develops this season. And so Julian, how did you see that ding-dong battle at the weekend?
Yeah, I think when the final whistle went, I was initially a little bit upset that we had gone 2-0 up after 15 and we hadn't come away with a victory. But then, having said that, you sort of look at the whole game, and I think it was probably, like Guy said, it was probably a fair result. Forest Green would be saying a very similar thing to us. They felt that once they had gone 3-2 up, they missed a couple of golden chances to get a fourth goal, and I think if that had gone in, then it would have been all over. But then Josh Barrett did the same thing. We could have been 3-0 up after 15 minutes when he hit the post. So swings and roundabouts. There was me thinking it was going to be a Dow 1-0 victory, and we'd seen the last of the gung-ho football, but how wrong could I be? It was so entertaining, and if there were any neutrals there, they would have absolutely loved that game. It was so good. Defensive frailties. We did look a bit paper thin, I thought. Second half, I was a little bit concerned. I'm putting that down to a couple of things. I'm putting that down to 2 out of the 3 in the back 3 were making their home debuts. Christian Mahoma he's got to take a few games to get back into the swing of things. And I think I remember when Menezes was playing last season, and his first couple of games were a little bit dicey, but he grew into his position, and I'm getting a feeling that that's going to be the same with Christian too. I think he's going to need 2 or 3 games just to show the sort of player that he is, and I think he's going to be a real asset for us this season. Luke Jenkins, I love Luke Jenkins. I think he is the future. I think he's going to be one of those that Tommy has identified as having a value to, and I know Guy mentioned last week about the value of the team, and he could well be one that could be stepping up. And Ollie Harfield was probably not had his best game. A couple of the goals from Forest Green came as a direct result of that part of the pitch. So things to work on. I think there may be, I think Tommy alluded to it, 1 or 2 more signings coming in possibly, and my guess would be that if we do bring someone else in, it will be another defender who can perhaps double up on the right-hand side as well. So I've got an idea who that might be, but I'm not going to say anything on here. But so overall, very similar to last season, very entertaining, some really good appearances. James Henry, I thought, was class when he came on. He was looking over his shoulder before he got the ball. Just made that run for the goal was amazing. Just at the right time, he was there. And again, the finish was fantastic too. It could have quite easily ended up on top of the East Bank, but it didn't. So overall, really pleased and lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, one of the goals, we can't not discuss Hady Ghandour's double, and we also got the assist for that James Henry goal, of course. But if you were looking for a way to score your first goal at the Rec, I mean, the first goal is one way to do it, where he receives the ball, takes it on the outside of the defender, and smashes it in the top right. And then the second, I mean, Josh Barrett plays him in. He kind of shifts it onto what looks like his left, and then his outside the right foot comes out and lobs it over the keeper. I generally, I mean, you can hear it in the highlights as well. It's a different sound. It's oh my God, what's he done? Rather than a big cheer. That was unbelievable. I'm trying to think of a goal like it, to be honest, that we've seen at the Rec. I'm trying to think of, maybe it was that Matt McClure goal that was down that same end, but that was kind of bobbling in the air, I think.
I think it was very instinctive, wasn't it? Very instinctive of him. It just sort of, like you say, went to the left, his right foot was there, and he just did what he needed to do. And it might be one of those goals where you try it 9 times out of 10 and it just ends up in the goalie's arms. But the interesting thing for me was, I think I mentioned it last week, is that he was crying out for a goal. And Rob Warren mentioned it in his commentary too, that he's done everything in pre-season bar score. And I think that first goal that he scored it just filled him with so much confidence. You could almost see him saying to himself, right, I'm here now. This is my position. I'm keeping hold of this position, and I'm not going to give it up. And I don't think we saw that from him last season. So, I think he's here to stay, and let's hope that we get some more goals.
Absolutely, yeah. It looked like a seasoned striker. That was a full 90 minutes of being a nuisance. Stretching a Forest Green defence that, on paper, it's top of this league or bottom of League Two kind of defence, and he was pulling it apart on his own. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant performance from him. And obviously, as we said, he kept going, and his work rate in the second half allows James Henry to smash that one home to equalise in the 80th minute. Guy, what do you think of the goals?
Well, they were all great. But the second Hady goal, it reminded me a little bit of Ronaldinho against Brazil, for Brazil against England in 2002, if you remember that one. The cross that came, was it a cross or was it a shot? Of course he'll say it was a shot, but because it was a dink, and you're thinking, well, hang on, is it? He's flicking it over. There's no one there, and then it sort of ends up in the back of the net. So, but yeah, the question, I also heard Steve Gibbs on the commentary saying, is that already the goal of the season in the first game of the season? Look, if that's what we've got to look forward to over the next 9 months, I'm pretty happy. And Henry's goal, well, that was good. But then there was also he had a second strike which the goalkeeper just parried away. I think it quite late I think it was just from outside the box as well. It was very well taken. That deserves to go in. So generally, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We did look like scoring. Yeah, that Henry goal, not goal, the chance kind of it kind of like it just accurately gets it in that bottom left, and the keeper managed to scramble across. But I think Julian, you mentioned it earlier, the Josh Barrett hitting the post effort as well. That that would have been up there with a goal of the season as well. It was like lovely interplay with Hady, Corbett, and then to Barrett. He should be scoring really. There was one defender and a goalkeeper to beat, and he's hit the post. But I just thought the interplay was just brilliant with those three. Yeah. I know obviously Corbett got taken off for Henry in the second half, but I thought they worked really well together.
Yeah, Josh Barrett, this is his time as well, isn't it? I think him and Hady are going to step up. The Stokes and Tolage have gone, so the opportunities are there for those two for sure. Josh, I thought, if there's any criticism, could he have taken a touch with that chance? It's easy for me to say. I wasn't there doing it, but fair play to him for taking it on first time, and he was really unlucky. He actually had another chance just after that too, where he was played in, nice little sort of dink over the top again by Corbett, I think it was, and he just sort of unfortunately didn't quite get a good connection on it. So I'll say the same thing as I did about Hady, so that Josh can score at the weekend. Josh is desperate for a goal, and let's hope it comes in the next game.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's got two away games to work on that. I'm sure he'll be in the top 3 of a goal of the season competition when he finally scores one, because it's obviously that Corbett, I forgot about that flick over the defender. Like that's like, I don't know, what is it like? Trying to think of the word, like not testimonial. But when like the World 11 come together and they just like start, Maradona flicks it to Pele or something. No, it was like that. It was in a full-on National League game.
Exhibition football.
Exhibition football. There we go. Nailed it. And I just want to mention the third goal from Forest Green. The ball through from Charlie McCann is absolutely unbelievable. I don't think we're really at fault there. I think the defensive line is straight. The striker kind of, he's on the shoulder of it. We can't tell if it's anywhere near offside. I don't think so. But the ball through is kind of like cut across it. So you hit like a kind of daisy cutter, and it's just bent round to the right into the path of, I think, McAllister. And then he lays it off for Christian Deutsch to make it 3-2. But that ball, I remember as it went through, I went, what a ball. Which, that's praise indeed from coming from the East Bank.
Yeah, we haven't seen that sort of quality for quite some time, and that was EFL quality, I would say.
Yeah.
To be fair to them.
Can I just add to that? Because, given the fact that Forest Green was relegated last year, and I think they still have quite a few of their players from last season. So, I mean, we have to say that it's quite encouraging that we slacked off in some places, but the fact that we're able to score against them, that we're able to hold level with them for a while, I think demonstrates that we've got nothing to fear in this division at all. But the other thing I just wanted to add as well is that, we were talking last week about the substitutions, about sort of, and I checked into this after we had this conversation on the podcast about the new rule. So yes, we've got 7 subs, that can be called up before the game, and you can have 5 substitutions. Now, there were 3 substitutions made in this game. So in the 58th, 65th, and 81 minutes. Should we be reading anything into this? Do you think that we're not going to be using our full complement, or if we do, that's going to kind of unbalance the team a bit?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Forest Green used 4 in their in their game. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe there just wasn't anyone else that could come off. I feel like Hargreaves had a great game. Yeah, I wouldn't really take anyone off. I mean, I suppose if Hady Ghandour had only scored 1, maybe you would have. I don't know, but you already brought on Barham, so we probably didn't have another option that could have come on other than switching out a defender, which I don't think we need to do too much.
The substitution situation is going to be key this season, I think, because I know some of the other managers that you hear from talk about starters and finishers, and a lot of players used to get upset about being on the bench to start a game, but I think Tommy is really good as well in his man management of the players, and it's going to be obvious, I think, as the season progresses, that he's going to be using starters and finishers, and that depends on the flow of the game, what the score is, what we need to do. Do we need to tighten up? Do we need to go for it? So I think the fact that we've got more subs and we can use more as well is going to make things really interesting, but definitely from a tactical point of view, not only for us but for other teams as well.
Hey Julie, can you identify some starters and finishers already? Or, I mean, I was intrigued because Tommy Widdrington was talking about he expects James Henry to be playing more regularly, more minutes. He was one of the first substitutes made, but we wouldn't expect him to be on the bench. And then we had Tetek, and we've all been talking about how much we love Tetek. He came on in the 81st minute. So do we expect more? Expect him to sort of be coming on towards the end, or maybe perhaps even starting?
Yeah, I think it's going to be down to who we're playing at the time. I think he's got so much confidence in all of the players that he will pick a starter for the Halifax game, which will probably be different from the starters for the Braintree game, which will probably be different from what we saw at the weekend with Forest Green. So, depending on, and we're going to talk about obviously Halifax and Braintree, which I think will be different sort of challenges. And so, partly it would be dependent on fitness, I think. But, I don't think there's going to be a huge difference now between the starters and the finishers. I think it's almost going to be like, any 16 players from 18 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and he seemed to be he experimented like this last season with kind of the switching of different especially the midfield pairings and the front line pairings as well. And everyone seems to be able to play in a couple of different positions anyway. So I think, early days, but I think we have a squad that can kind of sit into those different scenarios and move around a bit. It's a bit of a movable feast, I think. Grand. Well, let's move on to the next couple of games. We've got Halifax away at the weekend, and then we move around to Braintree away on the Tuesday night. So that means we'll have played a relegated team, a promoted team, and a team that have been here all along in the first 3 games, which is quite interesting. Halifax up first. We had we've played them seemingly every year for the whole time we've been down here, other than a couple of seasons. Julian, how do you see this one?
This one, I think, is going to be a real tough one. Although we beat them at their place last season, they've already shown what they can do. And actually, in the second half of last season, they really did step up, didn't they? Because they overtook us and they secured that final spot. If you talk to their supporters, their philosophy is, let's keep it tight at the back, and we'll hopefully win 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1. So they will always have a strong defence, which means that they're always going to be good at home. And I think what they've done is they've although they lost Ali, the striker Ali, to Exeter halfway through the season, they have replaced, or they haven't got a really strong natural goal scorer. But again, a bit like what Guy was saying earlier, they seem to be able to score from all angles. And actually, one of their goals that beat Barnet on Saturday was almost like a replica of James Henry's goal. It was down the line, cut back, penalty spot, and finished. So they've got players that will come in from midfield, support the front men. They tend to have quite sort of pacey forwards who are willing to run the channels. So, and they've beaten Barnet, who was, if you ask anybody, Barnet are in most people's top three, and for many are the potential champions. So it's going to be a tough one. And just going back to that starter finisher thing, I think there will be possibly a different lineup potentially to start the game, see how it goes, and then he's going to. I think the away form this season is going to be really key for us, because we can't be the gung ho that we were. So I really see us tightening up. So again, that in itself might lend to a slightly different lineup. So I can't see, and I'm probably totally wrong here. So everything I'm saying is going to be completely wrong. But I can't see Ollie Harfield bombing forward as much as he normally does. I think he's going to be given that message to really stay back and just keep everything tight at the back. So yeah, it's going to be a real tough one, and I'd love to win it. But as Tommy says, if we don't win it, don't lose it. So I think that's going to be the mentality.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, they beat Barnet 2-1 at the weekend in their first game at home. So that means they're playing the first two games at home of the season, which is bizarre, right?
Yeah, it's to do with Forest Green, actually, because if you notice Forest Green's fixtures, their first 4 fixtures are away from home.
I see.
And so someone had to obviously take the home spots from them. So it's to do with Forest Green, and I don't know what it is about Forest Green, whether they're having their pitch relayed or
putting in a 4G pitch to get the benefit for one season.
Yeah, I don't know, but then they're playing, I think, the first 4 games away from home. So it's Halifax who have sort of taken the hit on that. But actually, I think that's a real advantage for them, because if they, not that I want to see it, but if they do beat us on Saturday, then they've got 6 points in the bag against 2 of the potentially playoff chasing teams. So that can only stand them in a really good stead.
Yeah, and also I suppose it's going to make the league look a bit strange, I suppose, until Forest Green have played an equal amount of home games, because you imagine they'll be winning plenty more at home, Forest Green. Halifax. Yeah, all the goals were in 10 minutes between the 50th and the 60th. Mm-hmm. So they scored, Barnet equalised, and then Ali Medatoro, scored the winner on the 60th minute. Guy, how do you see the Halifax game at the weekend?
Well, I probably concur a lot with what Julian was saying. I think it's good. Keep in mind they play Barnet, who being before the season started were being touted as potential sort of up there at the top. So the fact that they beat them, I think, is really putting down a marker there. So if we can get a result against them, I think that's going to do the same for us. That said, I think Julian did mention that they were quite solid defensively, but they did sell a number of defensive players over the close season. So maybe they've tightened up at the back, but that does leave sort of opportunities for us, because maybe their sort of new defense is gelling a little bit. if you watch the highlights, though, I think we also need to not only worry about their attacking, strike force, but also their goalkeeper as well, because he tried, a direct free kick from his own half that almost caught the other goalkeeper, by surprise. So I think Dewhurst needs to be like on his toes, or Yordi, whoever's playing, this coming weekend. But yeah, I think the fact that it's, that they did so well against, one of the sort of the top teams in the division, I think is. But this is a good test for us, isn't it? This early on, I think playing, as you said, relegated team from the EFL, also potential promotion contender. We get these games out of the way, and we show we can play, keep up with them. Then I don't think we have anything to fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good proving ground, definitely. Well, I'd say probably the next two games. They're going to be two quite different games. I suppose we've got obviously Halifax, who we know are probably going to be in the top half of the table from looking at their squad and the last few seasons, and then we've got Braintree, who are obviously promoted last year, but a relative unknown in how they're going to sit this season. So I guess we can move on to them. But it's going to be a little reunion for Aldershot and James Vennings, as well as Ini Effiong, and someone we haven't seen for a while, John Akinde, who I feel like I don't remember him before the pandemic, maybe 2018, probably last time we saw him playing for Barnet. I can't remember coming across him again, but he's obviously scores goals wherever he goes. Also, the son of Kevin Lisby, Kyrell Lisby, is on their books. The only interesting thing, they did only name 5 subs for the game on Saturday, where they lost away at Oldham 3-0. The scorers for Oldham are the kind of 3 most kind of famous players, I think, or forward players: Ucheg Bulam, Charles Lee, and Mike Vondup, in front of 5,500 fans. So that's quite the pace setter for Oldham. Julian, how do you see the Braintree game and the kind of what are your kind of initial thoughts on how Braintree will get on this season?
I'm not sure how they're going to play, but my guess would be if any team has got Ini Effiong and John Akinde out front, they're going to play a lot of high balls in. 2 great big lumps up there. It's only going to go one way, isn't it? So that's one of the games where we have really we've got to get our back 3 right. I'm sure ball's going to be coming in from left, right, and centre. And again, I actually see it as a really tough one. It just smacks me of when we played Ebbsfleet last season, early on in the season, and Ebbsfleet had just come up, and they were on a crest of a wave, and they beat us 2-0 quite comfortably. Now, I'm obviously not hoping that that's the result, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think. So it could be another one where we just go in there, we do a job, and we get out again, and then see where we are after 3 games. So I'm not going to give you any predictions tonight, Will, because I'm hopeless at predictions, as you've already seen. But it's just one of those games for me where we've just got to get in there, do the job, and get out again, and see where we are after 3 games.
Yeah, definitely. And Guy, anything to add for the Braintree game?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, what's interesting about Braintree is that they did quite a lot of business in the transfer market over the close season. So, I think the assumption was that it was great they got promoted, but they weren't going to win, or they weren't going to sort of solidify their place in the National League with the players that they had. So they needed to bring in more established, seasoned players. Hence, why those that you mentioned, particularly Effiong. But what I think maybe works to our advantage is that I was looking at the Colchester Gazette and their commentary on their match reports for the game against Oldham, and they were saying that the team didn't really gel. So I mean, there's still a lot of work for them to do to put together. They've got a lot of players, but their ability to be able to play together isn't quite there yet. And this may also reflect, if you look at the transfer market data. I mean, Braintree has one of sort of the more expensive, squads in the league, which probably reflects, the amount of movement that's been going on there. So I think we have an advantage here in the sense that we're getting them fairly early on in the season, when they're still not. It's only the 3rd game, so there's a real opportunity there, I think, for us to actually be able to, grab a few goals and grab the points, as Julian said. The other thing to say as well is that they were again also obviously playing Oldham. Oldham, I mean, I'm not sure that they're necessarily going to be sort of champions, but sort of pushing for sort of in the top 7 or 8. So again, the type of club that we want to be pitching ourselves against. So if it's a similar sort of performance, then I'm quite confident for Aldershot. I would be, of course, confident for Aldershot at the front as ever because of our back. That's the thing I worry about.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see. Let's hope we get our first win of the season. I'm assuming we'll win and lose. We'll have a draw, win, loss. It'll all be fine. We'll be on 4 points, sitting pretty in about 8th position. So yeah, we'll wrap up there. Thank you, Guy, and thank you, Julian.
No problem.
No worries.
No, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of When the Flames Go Up. We'll be back again next week after the Braintree game. Probably be out on like Thursday this time. Give me a little bit more time for this one. But yes, hope you enjoyed the episode and up the shots.